Okay, so we know that Google mapped the world, and we just talked about interior and augmented and virtual reality. Now we're going to talk about mapping the interior. For example, the interior of this room. Has somebody mapped it? Well, maybe an architect. How about mapping and charting, moving into uncharted territories? How about your home? How about your flat? Our next speaker is doing just that. He hasn't mapped your house yet, unless you've given him permission to. Kaspar Helfrich is the co-founder and CEO of Archilogic. Kaspar.
Big corporates. Do you think it stays in the hands of corporates, or will it be more like democratized?
Does that work? Okay, now it works. It's a great privilege to be here. Really a lot of fun. Thank you very much. We have seen a lot of AR and VR companies today here. We are kind of a data company that feeds into this sector. And Archilogic was founded 3 years ago by 4 architects. And now, today, we are 20 people in Zurich and about 70 people globally. And what we do is something that everyone thinks is already done, like mapping the world. You think Google did it, Apple kind of tried it or did it, and there is no more need to do it. But in truth, we spend about 90% of our time indoors, and this is where we create value, this is where we live and love, and this is where the maps don't go yet. This is basically uncharted and unconnected territory, and this is what we want to map and what we are working on. And buildings, as an architect, I know that buildings are really complicated. And this is a sketch by Frank Gehry that actually was then turned into an actual building. Some of you might know it. And it's not an easy thing to map that. You can build a street map from a satellite picture or from existing maps, but with buildings, it's a bit more complex. And what is the usual medium we use for buildings? It is usually floor plans. That's the same building. If you look at that, you would never think it's that weirdly shaped metal boxes that you saw before. And the reason is that you lack depth, and only a professional and someone with a lot of experience, and even often an architect can't do it perfectly, can add kind of depth to this plan. And what we did, basically, we tried to teach machines to do that. And I do something really stupid now. I do give a live presentation in the web on my laptop of the algorithms. You should never do that. That's really horrible. So what I do is I open a web page which basically has, we are in the browser here, so there's no plugins. It's just working like that. And I have prepared a little floor plan, and it's just a JPEG of a floor plan. Basically, it's a photograph. So if I zoom in, you see a lot of terrible pixels, perhaps not on that screen because the resolution. And so I just drag and drop that into our platform. And I give it one Q, which is, hopefully, if it works, OK. I give it one Q, which is the size of a door. And afterwards, I pray. So I have the floor plan here, and now an algorithm tries to find the elements, kind of like tracing the walls, the doors, and also the rooms. It tries to figure out how this thing comes together and show me an interpretation, hopefully soon. And what this actually does, it takes a two-dimensional picture and turns it into semantic data. This is like taking single letters and putting it into words. So suddenly we know more than the pixels, but we know the context of this. And in this case, so we have, for example, the context of the rooms, where I could start immediately to change, for example, the materials. or I could let the machine give me some inspiration about how I could live in this space, right? So I know at this moment, I know exactly how many walls there are in, how many doors there are in these walls, how many windows there are, and how these windows relate to the walls, etc. So I basically have a full semantic knowledge of that space. And I can also start playing with it. Like in this case, I have just furniture that is sitting in here. I can think, okay, I don't like what he suggested, so show me something different. I love that couch. Give me some information about that couch, etc. You get the idea. So, wow, I survived that. Thanks. But floor plans, if you want to really go and do the entire world, floor plans won't cut it. It's a good Kindle to kind of start an ecosystem of interior spaces. But if you really want to do it, you have to let many cases of data flow into your platform. And so we do the floor plan things. We allow for BIM, so building information modeling models. We look into scans a lot. We already today have a lot of people that upload scans to our platform. Of course, the scanning technology is not there yet, but once our mobile phones can do really nice and solid and perhaps also semantic scans, the ecosystem will explode. And this is why I say floor plans are kindling. The end game is going to be the scans, of course. So once you have the data, what can you do with it? We have a web user interface, so we do everything in the web. I even do this presentation in the web. And basically, once you have the 3D model and it runs in your browser or on any virtual reality device, you can have it anywhere. So this is connecting the data. It's no use if you just have a semantic model and you have it for yourself and you can't share it. It becomes interesting when you have it in the web and it's connected to real-life products and to the economy, basically. And this is what mapping is for us. Mapping is connecting, really like Google did it. Before you had to just look on a piece of paper. Today it tells you exactly what is where and where you can buy your next meal, so to say. And the most important part of the web user interface is actually the thing that least people use. It's the software development kit, the SDK. And the SDK allows us and external parties to develop applications on top of the database and of the web user interface. So here are a couple of examples about this intelligence layer. So we eat our own dog food, so everything we develop in our own SDK, and we do the light simulations where I can show a couple of examples afterward. We do area calculations, spatial analytics, auto furnishing, all these things we do in the SDK. And I want to run to a couple quick examples of this SDK use cases. So what could you do with this data set? There is a fantastic Zurich-based startup which is called Archilogic. They took a big part of our data and with machine learning they started to teach machines what spatial qualities are. So how does a room sound? How does it how is the light? And they did it for about 70 different algorithms, and they automated that. What they basically did, they quantified spatial qualities. And if you really can do that, you then can really say what is the value of a space, much more accurate than just estimating the address. So, and they do that on top of our database, which is fantastic. Hopefully they will have great success. And here, a little GIF of an example of a publication where ArcDaily, the biggest architecture blog of the world, published the pavilion by Bjarke Ingels, and it's basically an interactive parametric object that we imported into their article. And I'm showing you this. We do a lot of media with ArcDaily and other blogs, but I'm showing you this because the interactive version had more likes and success on the web than the actual really built pavilion. People have more fun with that. This is really something that happened 10 minutes ago. This is the Tamedia newsroom, and one of our developers coded a little game, and he's basically micro-racing through the Tamedia newsroom there. The video is a bit short, but anyone could do it. It's just directly part of the platform. Or yesterday, High Fidelity, a Google-backed startup, had a gathering in virtual reality where, I don't know, 50+ people came together in a landscape that was actually populated with small and real-sized models of that were created through Archilogic. And in a way, yeah, that's actually really funny. It's a bit trippy as well. So the people start to kind of adapt their sizes to the models. Well, this is just a couple of the examples that we are currently having in the ecosystem. And what it is actually, it is if you have great applications and if you have great core applications, this generates more users, which generate, again, more data, which is, again, more interesting for app developers, and so on. So we hope to get this ecosystem going over the next couple of years and really develop a fantastic and rich environment that will grow and will grow upon real-life data of architecture in the end. And the question really that remains is, what would you do, or what could you do once you know all the interiors of the world? I think when Google started digitizing the outside of the world, they didn't think first, oh, Uber, that's what you could do with mapping the world. But what could you do if you had all the interiors of the world? What's the fun applications? And perhaps there is some developers here as well, or people that have just a great business idea. Come to us, let's talk together, let's figure something out. And for us, really, it is not only this data hunt, but behind it, it's really this vision that we can enable people to make spatial decisions that are powerful, to democratize architecture, in a way to get rid of our own profession. So, yeah, I don't think we have time for Q&A, so if you have questions, contact me via Helfrich at Archilogic. And if you have a floor plan or a 3D model of your home, upload it at 3dfi.archilogic.com. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kaspar. Thank you. Good. I think we might have time for one question. One question for Kaspar? Yeah, we go right front and center here, the third row. You got it.
Oh, here's the microphone.
There it is.
Google had the little privacy problems with Google Streetview. So how can we imagine having my interior now on a platform somewhere? What is the approach for privacy keeping?
I think that's an absolutely excellent question. So we don't intend to have the same user interface where basically all the data set is public to everyone. But it is much more, also at the moment, it is much more user-driven. So you upload your home. It is not that you go search your home under all the homes. In later stages, there is, of course, the possibility that you search by address, because we're digitizing heavily, not only by uploads by users, but generally just over multiple data sources. And then you do the same, basically, like Airbnb would do. You authenticate people. You tell them, send me a copy of your phone bill. So, but the goal is not to have this kind of, our goal is not to fold it inside out in the sense of making everything transparent, but connecting the spaces to products, services, to friends, to games, to functionality, basically enriching your environment, but in a much more conceptual way than just overlapping it with graphics. And so we're not making it public, in short.
Great. Thank you. Kaspar, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay, good.